Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome back to the Slang of Ages podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Preston Frazier. And on this very special episode, episode number 14 of season seven, yeah, the penultimate episode of season seven, we're going to talk about the 1989 album by Lyle Lovett and his large band, creatively called Lyle Lovett and his large band. Before we get into Lyle Lovett and his large band, let me remind you that you can find my podcast on your podcatcher of your choice or on YouTube. I ask you to like, share, and subscribe so I can get more followers to continue to do this. Also, go on to Facebook and like the Sling of Ages podcast page. That way I can hopefully get some revenue from Facebook. And also check out my book, Toto, Band, Not the Dog, is available on all the book platforms. It is available hardback and softcover as well. And in a few weeks, we'll be talking about my new book, which is going to be coming out in a few weeks. More on that to come. Anyway, I want to, before we get to La Love and Large Band, thanks to my Patreon followers and executive producer, Cynthia Toms, Benicio Cifuentes, and Cheryl Frazier, and you can join them at patreon.com. Look for the Slang Majors podcast. Now, Loud Love and His Large Band. This is one of my favorite albums, obviously, because this podcast, the Slang Majors podcast, is about me talking about my favorite albums. And this is a doozy. Lyle Lovett doesn't have any bad albums, but he has a few great ones. This is my favorite though. And this came out in January of 1989, January 25th to be specific, 1989. Lyle Lovett was on, I think he may still be on Curb Records, which is a subsidiary of Warner Brothers. And the album is classified as country, which I find kind of funny because Lyle Lovett has been straddling genres most of his career. He has a wonderful voice, he's an amazing writer, and he has a witty sense of humor. And of course, some of you may call him Mr. Julia Roberts because he was married to the actress Julia Roberts for a while back in the, I think, 90s and the early 2000s. But he is an amazing musician. He's also an actor. He's been in several movies. We're not going to talk about any of that stuff. We're going to talk about Lyle Lovett and his large band. And before we get to that, I want to talk about a little bit about some of the albums he's had out over the last several years because he's had, like I mentioned, quite a wonderful, wonderful music career, which spans a bunch of albums. This album, Lyle Lovett and His Large Band, was his third album, which is hard to believe. And it's hard to believe because it's so well put together, it's so well done, it's so well produced. He worked with producer Billy Williams in Nashville, who's an amazing guitarist as well, and also producer Tony Brown. And he co-produced himself. Like I mentioned, it was on Curb Records and MCA, not Warner Brothers Records. And he classified it as country, jazz, blues, and country swing. And I think that's a good way of putting it because it really is a combination of all those genres. Like I mentioned, his third album, his first album was self-titled called Lyle Lovett back in 1986. Then Pontiac back in 1987. Both those are fantastic albums. Seek those out. Then Lyle Lovett and His Large Band. Then Joshua Judges Ruth back in 1992. I Love Everybody in 1994. The Road to Ensenada, 1996. Step Into This House, 1998. My Baby Don't Tolerate, 2003. It's Not Big, It's Large, back in 2007. Natural Forces in 2009. Release Me, 2012. This last album was 2022's 12th of June. Lovett is still touring. He tours with a large band. Occasionally, he will tour solo or with a small combo, percussionist, bass player, piano player, and himself. But this album, he pulls out really all the stops. And the result is pretty magical. The Loud Love and His Large Band has some amazing original compositions, 12 songs total, all original compositions with the exception of track number 8, Stand By Your Man. So let's get into it. Oh, I want to go talk about the personnel in this album too before we get into the songs. Lyle Lovett handled the vocals, lead vocals, and acoustic guitar. He was joined by guitarist Ray Herndon, who's been in his band for a long time, with the electric guitar. Studio A's Richard Bennett handled some acoustic and electric guitar, and you may know Richard Bennett for being in Mark Knopfler's band for what, the last 30 years or so. He's a Nashville mainstay. Another Nashville mainstay is the great Paul Franklin on steel guitar. You may know Paul Franklin as well from Mark Knopfler's first solo band, first two solo bands, as well as the last Dire Straits album, On Every Street, where he was featured. Amazing pedal steel player. Then you have Billy Williams, the producer, helping out on some acoustic guitar. You have Matt Rollins, another Nashville mainstay, on piano and Hammond B3 organ. And Matt Rollins has been on a lot of people's albums. He's a Nashville mainstay as well. And he was also, I think he still is, maybe in Mark Knopfler's touring band. You have Leland Sklar on electric bass. You have the fantastic Russ Kunkel on drums. And of course, Scar and Kunkel are famous from their many albums they've been on together and separately. Scar, especially in Phil Collins' band, and the band Immediate Family, which has, I think, 3 or 4 albums out and is still touring. Also, he had a wonderful horn section, which included a number of sax players, Andy Laster and Steve Marsh on saxophone. He had an additional help on drums by Paul Lim, another Nashville mainstay, and he had John Hagen on cello. And John has been touring with Lyle Lovett and his large band for a long time, and also the small band. He has some cello parts, and he's been touring with Lyle Lovett for 30 years or so. The great Mark O'Connor on fiddle and Mandola, sorry. Mark O'Connor is a Nashville mainstay, great solo career as well, and was a member of the Dregs slash Dixie Dregs. Then he had a bunch of background vocalists. Um, the great Rodney Crowell on backing vocals on a song, Walter Hyatt on backing vocals, Mac McNally, another Nashville mainstay, on backing vocals, Harry Stinson backing vocals, and Francine Reed, Georgia's own Francine Reed, as featured vocalist. She is an amazing talent. She's still around, but she's not touring anymore. She's probably in her late 70s, early 80s, but she is a firecracker. If you ever get a chance, if you come down to Georgia, I think she's in Macon, Georgia, get a chance to see Francine Reed's solo show, do it. She is amazing. Wow. But this band would not be anything without great songs, and Lovett delivers those. And the first song is a cover of a Clifford Brown song called Blues Walk. It's a jumping, a swinging, swing time jazz song. It's less than 2.5 minutes, but it really gives a band something to bite into. The interplay between Sklar and Kunkel in the rhythm section is fantastic. Ray Herndon provides a beautiful, clean Fender Telecaster solo. And then Matt Rollins' piano solo is great as well. No vocals at all. Starts with an instrumental, a jazz instrumental. And you know when you hear that song, whoa, this is something unusual. It is something unusual. And he doesn't stop there. Next up is the classic song, Here I Am. And this song starts with a spoken word part, and it just goes from there. The song starts with, "Hello, I'm the guy who sits next to you and reads a newspaper over your shoulder. Wait, don't turn the page. I'm not finished. Life is so uncertain." And he goes on and on like this. It's just hilarious, and it's really well laid out. And the band just smokes, and they play like their lives are depending on it. And it also sounds as if they're playing live in studio. So you have these really great guitar parts again by Ray Hernan with a little bit from Billy Williams, and then the horns really take off there as well. And the backing vocals are so soulful. You wouldn't think that Lovett, the guy from Texas, has so much soul in him, but his leads are great, and the interaction between Lovett and Francine Reed is incredible. And this song was not a hit on the album. I mean, there were no big hits on the album, but it really smokes. In fact, I should say that Lyle Lovett hasn't really had any big hits. That being said, every album he's put out, every album has sold at least 500,000 copies. He's been making money for the record company and for himself as well. And the album, Lyle Lovett and his large band reached number 62 on the Billboard Top 200. So that's not bad for a country album. And also reached number 10 on the country charts, even though it's not that much country, because you would think the first two songs aren't country. The next song is Crying Shame, again, another Lyle Lovett composition, and it is another doozy. It's just great vocals. It has a great horn intro part to it, and Lovett's vocals are amazing, but his lyrics are even better. The first verse is, "You've got some legs, baby, that just won't quit. You got a pretty boy, and he looks pretty hip. You got the one in the sky, but you gave him the slip. Ain't that just a crying shame?" It's just a great thing about a relationship or a man observing a relationship and saying, "Hey, you could have had me, but you had him, and look what you got." It's a crying shame. And this is another song. Well, this is the first song, I guess, where, well, another song, because it happened in Here I Am, where Francine Reed gets to step out with some vocal ad libs, and she really preaches. It is so soulful. Then we slide into Good Intentions, which is a slightly slower pace. It has really great brushwork by Russ Kunkel. It has really great feel from the rest of the band, Sklar and Ray Herndon and Paul Franklin has some touches of pedal steel parts. It's just another great song, different pace, and more introspective. The first verse reads, "It's a sunny day in sunny California, but that old sun is shining on me right here at home. It's one of those days when those great ideas just fall out of you. And they always fall to the greatest when you're falling alone. It makes for a good day for some serious reflection and massive rationalization for contemplating the future of the future and the last of the past, and wondering if you will ever forgive me, darling, all the trouble put to you." And I could forget all those questions that I never asked. So it goes on and talks about that relationship that's strained and how good intentions aren't really the thing that makes a relationship work. It's actually actions. Uh, Lots of lyrics there. He spits them out, and it's really mostly for good intentions. So I love it singing. There's not much backing vocal, but it really works well. And it is, again, kind of a laid back song after you had Here I Am and Crying Shame. And he continues on that theme with another bluesy, laid back song, "I Know You Know," which features a really laid back behind the beat feel from Russ Kunkel, delicate brushwork, great bass playing by Leland Sklar, some tasty acoustic guitar work by Richard Bennett and Lyle Lovett. And it's just subtly passion, and it works really well. Next song after I Know You Know is a kind of a mashing up of two songs. One song that Lovett wrote, "What Do You Do?" And then the last few, like 30 seconds of the song is "The Glory of Love." This is a song which most people are familiar with. That's the story of, that's the glory of love. But what do you know? What do you know? Um, I know you know rather. What do you do? Sorry, what do you do works really well on its own, and the mashing up of those two is just weird, but it works. It starts off from a really slow backbeat. It has great interaction between vocal interaction between Lyle Lovett and Francine Reed, where it's really a duet between those two. And the lyrics start off with, "Honey, bring me the paper and pour me a beer. And turn on the TV and sweep up over here. And you tell me you love me, put off my blues. But what do you do when it quits being new?" That was sung by Lovett. Then Reed answers, call and response. Reed answers, "Now you be home for supper and don't slam that door. And you better be sober, man, or I'll give you what for. You could tell me you love me to put off my blues, but what do you do when it quits being new?" Then they sing in unison, perfect harmony. "We used to not worry about nothing. We used to laugh and play. But now when we look at each other, we never have anything to say." It's just a great duet between those two. It's so sassy. Then you have this great horn swell coming in. It's just perfect. But before they end the song, they have that verse about, "That's the glory of, that's the story of, what do you do?" So the writer of Glory of Story of Love got a writing credit for really just a sentence that they used out of the song. But that's the way it goes, and it's a beautiful song. It's a great duet vocal. Francine Reed and I love it smoke together. And then it comes to another song, which is funny and effervescent and just great. It starts really with a nice country backbeat. I think it's Paul Lynde playing drums with Layla Scar and bass. And you have this tasty pedal steel guitar part, um, which just really shines throughout the song, and by Paul Franklin. And then you have Lovett's lyrics and vocals coming in. The first verse is, "It's not the words, I always love you. It's not the words, I wish I could stay. It's more the way your lips looked at, it's more the way your lips looked as you spoke them, and how the moonlight fell upon your face. I married her just because she looked like you. And every time you said no, she said, honey, I'd be glad to. And you said, every time you left me, she said, darling, I'll be there. It's not the words, you'll get over me, that made this dream come true. I married her just because she looked like you." It's funny, it's sad, it's poignant, and it is great the interaction of the band, especially as I mentioned, Paul Franklin. Also, you have that great Mark O'Connor violin fiddle part that comes in there. You have a little fiddle by a violin by Warren Hood as well, and you have some great playing by John Hagen on cello. But it's a great country song, and the lyrics are what you would think a country song would be, but they're much more poignant, they're much more direct, they're much more tongue in cheek than you would get from a country song. Great stuff. So I married her just because she looks like you, which segues into the next song, the Billy Sherrill, Tammy Wynette classic, "Stand by Your Man." Um, and you wouldn't think that "Stand By Your Man" would be a song which would work for a man singing, but it really does work well here. Um, Love it. His version of the song reached number 82 on the country charts. But people, when they go to a concert, expect him to sing that song because he does it so well. It has such a different feel about than Tommy Wynette's version did. And it's kind of looking, well, I was looking at it from a man's point of view. which the lyrics could easily do, where it says, sometimes it's hard to be a woman, acknowledging that, giving all your love to just one man. You'll have bad times and he'll have good times, doing things that you don't understand. But if you love him, please forgive him, even though it's hard to understand. And if you love him, well, be proud of him, because after all, he's just a man. Stand by your man. Give him two arms to cling to. It's something warm to come home to when the nights are cold and lonely. It works. It is brilliant that he rearranged that and made it his own, because it's a classic song. And usually it's dangerous to do a classic song, especially when you don't change the lyrics, but the genres work. Either the gender, sorry, not genre, gender works either way. It's just wonderful. So we slow things down a little bit with Which Way Does That Old Pony Run? Love it, another Love It original. Great acoustic guitar. Again, Paul Franklin's pedal steel is here and it's just wonderful. It's just yearning. This is probably the least complex in terms of arrangement song, a more traditional country song. No horns here, very little, no backing vocals, and it is brilliant. Love It does provide a little, does bring in through his production a little violin and also the John Hagen cello, but it's just beautiful song. And then it's very introspective. The first verse reads, when I was a very young man, I was a cowboy, the best in the land. But then she settled me down with a touch of her hand. Now I'm begging you, mister, can you tell me which way does that old pony run? Which way does that old pony run? And how much is that saddle in a straight shooting gun? Which way does that old pony run? Yeah, a story about a man who gets in a relationship and settles down and misses those old days hanging out with his buddies and has to deal with that and move on in a relationship. He does a fantastic job delivering beautiful vocals and singing these great lyrics. It's a classic. Well, actually, the next song, Nobody Knows Me, may well be a classic. The song is, again, another small band production, those called as large band. This song doesn't feature much in terms of production besides uh, acoustic guitar and has touches of pedal steel. No backing vocals here. Some great electric guitar with the acoustic as well. Some brushes by, I think it's Paul Lamb, but it could be Leland Sklar. I mean, it could be Russ Kunkel. And of course, Leland Sklar on bass. And the first verse reads, when I was a very young man, I was a cowboy, the best in the land. But then she settled me down with a touch of her hand. Now I'm begging you, mister, tell me if you can, which way does that old pony run? Which way does that old pony run? How much is a saddle and a straight shooting gun? Which way does that old pony run? And actually, I think I just read that. So let's skip on to Nobody Knows Me. 'Cause we talked about which way does the old pony run twice. Nobody Knows Me is another original by Lyle Lovett. And again, another laid back song in terms of his production. It's really just Lyle Lovett and his acoustic guitar with touches of cello by John Hagen and a little bit of violin from Mark O'Connor. And the lyrics are, I like cream in my coffee. I like to sleep late on Sundays, and nobody knows me like my baby. I like eggs over easy with flour tortilla, and nobody knows me like my baby. Nobody knows me. Nobody knows me. Nobody knows me like my baby. It's a simple composition, simple arrangement, but it is so beautiful and it's so well produced. It's so well sung by Lovett, and the band just plays so well. There is a electric guitar solo on it, and the drums pick up a little bit, switching from brushes to sticks, but it works really well. It's just a great arrangement. That leads to track 11. If you were to wake up, another big ballad, big feel to it. Uh, Probably my least favorite song on the album, which isn't a criticism because it is a good song. Introspective, quiet, and poignant. The first verse reads, if you were to wake up and I were beside you, would you gently smile, dear, and whisper my name? And would you remember the way that I held you? Would you want me to hold you again? Time teaches you just like a willow that bends in the water and clings to the shore. And there are times, dear, that once you did love me, and there are a time when you love me no more. Wow. So denouement of relationship, sung over acoustic guitar, some really touching bass by Sklar, some great pedal steel, brushes, and some violin. And that brings us to track 12, the last song on the album, called Once Is Enough. And this one is also a small band production. Lyle Lovett on acoustic guitar, Richard Bennett on acoustic, and little touches of electric guitar by Ray Herndon. It is a song which features the male backing vocals of Mac McNally, Harry Stinson especially, and Rodney Crowell. And it is a beautiful song, almost a feel of a barbershop quartet with regard to the backing vocals, even though it's three of them, so it's a trio. Um, and I love the lyrics. And the acoustic guitar picking, which I think is probably Richard Bennett, is fantastic. The lyrics are, I used to be so much more open-minded. I used to like to fall in love. And then they tell me I was so much sweeter and kinder, but once is enough. Yeah, I used to be Mr. Understanding. I used to listen and not interrupt. But now I'm a different man than that man then, because once is enough. And once is enough for anybody. Once is enough to fall in love. Once is enough to feel your heartbeat. Once is enough. What great way to end an album. Great way to have a fantastic kickoff for a tour because he did tour for this album with the large band, and he's toured a lot with a large band. He's done several tours with a newly configured band because Francine Reed, like I mentioned earlier, has stopped touring. He's added some additional singers, and I would urge you to check out the album Lyle Lovett and his large band because that album really features a lot of songs from this album, but also features some of his newer material as well. It is a fantastic album for a man who had a fantastic career. So I'm going to recommend a few other Loud Lovett albums. We talked about the first two, Loud Lovett and Pontiac. Must have those albums. Joshua Judge's Ruth, the album after this in 1992. That's one they definitely get. I would recommend It's Not Big, It's Large. This is another album with the Loud Love and his large band. And then 2022's 12th of June. Highly recommend that album as well. Keep in mind that he also has the live album, Lyle Lovett and his large band out, so seek that out. Now, this album, Lyle Lovett and his large band, did win a Grammy in 1990 for Best Male Country Vocal. He was nominated for the song She's No Lady from the Pontiac album. And they nominated for the Pontiac album. Also for Best Vocal Country Performance, didn't win there. So he did win Funny How Time Flies, Best Collaboration with Al Green, 1995. He won for the song Blues for Dixie with Asleep at the Wheel in 1995. Best Country Performance with a duet. He was also won the Best Country Album in 1997, The Rose in Sonata. He was last nominated for In My Own Mind, Best Country Vocal Performance in 2005. He's been nominated a lot, 17 times. Like I mentioned, every album he's produced, including Lyle Lovett and his Large Band, which is the album t-shirt I have. He has sold over 50,000, 500,000 copies on every album. He's been in, I don't know, it's probably 30, 25 different movies. So he's been around for a long time, still has a great career. He's amazing on stage. He's extremely funny. If you get a chance to see Lyle Love and his large band live, do it. So there we go. That's a wrap for season number seven, episode 14. One more episode for season seven coming in 2 weeks. I'm going to take a break for the summer so I can rejuvenate. It'll come back strong for season eight. Again, like, share, and subscribe. Go on to Facebook and find a Slang of Ages podcast page. Please like that. My book, Toto, the band, not the dog, is out, and new book is coming by the time we start probably the next season. More on that to come. Maybe some bonus episodes this summer while I'm on living on the beach. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for checking out the Slang of Ages podcast, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.